Next ticker today is Canopy Growth, the stock in the green today after reporting third quarter revenue, get this, that rose 282%. That was year on year. The cannabis company reported earnings per share of 28 cents, revenue of $62.5 million. Sales numbers were supported by the legalization of recreational pot in Canada this past October. Yahoo Finance's Dan Roberts is with me. Dan, Canopy focused on shipping its core products to retail locations to sort of combat some of those supply shortages that were problematic. It looks like it's paying off here.
Oh, it paid off enormously. You were saying that the legalization in Canada supported this growth. I would say it was gasoline on the fire. I mean, up 280%. We were all wondering, this was kind of the first indication we got of how these public companies in Canada might do once you see Canada legalization. Well, here's your answer. The demand is there. It's obvious. One number that stuck out to me in the report, Jackie, was that 33% of the sales were from CBD oils.
Yes.
So that's one of those topics that comes up on our live shows all the time, the CBD product explosion. And I kind of roll my eyes. I'm a skeptic on it, but clearly the demand is there. Now, Canopy did have, I believe, a little bit higher cost than was expected, so it was a slight miss on profit, but the revenue growth was just enormous. The cold water I would throw on this is that this is still a very small company. I mean, $62 million in quarterly revenue. Let's just remember kind of the amount to which we discuss these companies and the big to-do that we make over these Canadian public cannabis companies. I still think it's a little outsized. We're definitely seeing a little bit of a bubble, a lot of room to grow here.
All right, I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, pardon the pun, but I will share with you some statistics that the company shared too that I thought, were really interesting when you talk about that steep demand that they were seeing. They sold 10,102 kilos of pot overall. 7,381 of that was the recreational pot. So that really shows you what that piece of the business is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to debate demand, this is kind of a retort to those who say that the whole industry has been trumped up a little bit. In fact, for a while, when we really saw Tilray, Canopy, Aurora, all these cannabis names going through the roof, people said, gosh, it's just like crypto. And the retort that cannabis CEOs would make was, well, no, it's not like crypto because this is real. This is something people want to buy. It's an actual physical product that you can touch and smoke or imbibe in whatever way you choose.
Right.
So the demand is obvious. I think the runway is long. And actually, we had interviewed Bruce Linton a while back in November on one of our shows. We've interviewed him a few times here on Yahoo Finance, and at the time, this is when we were really seeing the stocks go through the roof. He said, of course it's a bubble, so that was refreshing. Sometimes you hear them deny it. He said there's a bubble, but within the bubble, just like with the original tech bubble, there are still a lot of quality companies. Obviously, he believes and hopes that his is one of them.
ArcView is a research firm that follows the industry and makes projections on growth. They're looking at 2019, saying that sales should hit $16.9 billion for marijuana, and that's 38% growth. So this is just getting started.
It's just getting started. We're still in the early innings, and legalization in Canada, huge. Obviously, for us here in America, we have to wonder, okay, how fast is it going to move in the States? Because for all the hype over it, it has still felt a little bit gradual. We are watching it go state by state, and of course, the big problem, similar to, say, sports betting, is that when you have a state-by-state landscape, very hard for the companies to do certain things that a normal business is used to being able to do. Things like have a business bank account, because it's still illegal at the federal level. So everyone in the U.S. that has anything to do with this industry is looking at Canada right now as the indicator.
Now, you mentioned that CEO that we had done with the the interview we had done with the CEO. That was with Yahoo Finance's Zach Guzman. Actually, Bruce Linton talked to him about growth and the possibility that marijuana becomes a commodity, and we know what happens when a product sees commoditization. Let's take a listen to this.
I think commodity is almost the right word. What it will become is a managed ingredient. And if you perceive it as a managed ingredient, the price of ingredients always goes to a low price. But when you buy something, you don't pay the price of all the ingredients put together. You buy the price of the finished good, which means that our job, Canopy, is to make medical products that get all the IP protection and results and maybe combinations of the ingredient from cannabis and other ingredients.
Dan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. He has to a little bit talk his book, as the phrase goes. And actually, in that same interview, he was encouraging everyone to buy Constellation, which has made a big investment in Canopy. So he's kind of plugging away. But yeah, I mean, I think he also has numbers now that he can point to whenever he makes these bullish remarks. As you said, 280% rise in revenue for the quarter. Let's see what happens next quarter and beyond and see if the demand grows from here.
Actually, you mentioned Constellation. I thought that it was really interesting that they may be looking to move closer to Constellation in New York State. New York State actually being very supportive of the business, allowing them to grow hemp.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the hemp bill, huge for these U.S.-based businesses. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these bigger companies, in some cases it's been beer brewers, in some cases it's been tobacco giants, that have made a big stake in one of the cannabis companies soon enough within the next year, just outright buys them, or at least moves to a majority stake. That's what's going to happen next.
All right. Investors' eyes are definitely on this one. Thank you so much for that, Dan.